fully fit squad for the first game of the season. Things are looking rosy, and of course, in classic Newcastle style, we've got a player out for months now. It's not looking good for Jonjo Shelvey. Welcome back to another video on the channel, Newcastle fans. If you are new to Black and White Banter, you've maybe just stumbled across us on YouTube, make sure you drop down, give us a like, give us a subscribe. Those little likes help us go a little bit further up the search bar, and obviously, if you like my opinion, you maybe like something that I say on this video, you'll be notified every single time I post another one. And get us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Things are going crazy on there at the moment. 1,500 shares on a Nick Pope photo. Get us on there if you're curious. So, fantastic win at the weekend. Going into this week, we may be hoping to hear some transfer news. Unfortunately, just after we've started the season with what was practically a fully fit squad, Craig Hope from the Daily Mail has broken tonight that Jonjo Shelvey, ain't nobody, but Jonjo Shelvey is going to be injured. We knew he had an injury, which is why he wasn't in the squad on Saturday, which only looked about being a couple of weeks. He's had surgery in London on Saturday. He's going to be out what looks like the earliest November. Jonjo. Very frustrating news, this. For me, I think it is a blow, because Jonjo Shelvey, if anyone watched the games in Austria, the friendly games, I'm sure lots of people did over the summer, he looked the fittest and sharpest he's ever been. There was stories that he'd lost a lot of weight, that his body fat percentage had come down, and he was putting in the work. Because I think Jonjo Shelvey knows now, he's only got a couple of years left. He said it in his interview at Newcastle, in his recent interviews. He knows he's going up against the likes of Bruno, Joe Linton. Some really, really good quality players in that midfield. Maybe more to come in. But he backs himself, and he's looked good in pre-season, and he's probably the fittest he's ever been. So to hear that he's got this injury is a really, really big blow. Because I think Jonjo Shelvey, I've been a big critic of him in the past. Under Eddie Howe, he's transformed us. He's looked one of our most integral players for large parts of that second half of the season. And he just offers us something a little bit different. And he's experienced as well, and that's good to have in the squad. We don't have many players now who've been there and done it. You've got your Paul Dummets, your Lascelles, but there's not many who've been around, obviously, as long as Jonjo Shelvey has. So it's frustrating, because I really think that he fancied himself this season to push them other players and make a name for himself in this team. So I'm devastated for him. And what does this mean for Newcastle and Eddie Howe now? I think we were already looking in the transfer window. This is going to force our hand even more. We've had bids for James Maddison turned down. We apparently now are going after him again. I think we've bid 40 and 40. We haven't really changed our bid, so God knows what the third offer might be. 40 million and a pound. I don't know, but Eddie Howe is keen on him, and I think the fact that now we are going to be missing one of our key central midfielders until the end of the year, essentially, because don't forget, there's a Winter World Cup. So it looks like Jonjo Shelvey, if he was to come back, would come back in that pre-season spell when the World Cup's going on, and then the fixtures don't restart until the 26th of December, Boxing Day. So that might work in his favour to give himself time to get back to fitness for the season recommencing, but we need a central midfielder. We wanted one anyway before, a bit more attack and quality. We now need one, because when we had a fully fit squad, when Jonjo Shelvey was maybe going to be coming back soon, that gave some healthy competition in them central midfield areas. I think Bruno and Joe Linton can't really drop them at the moment. They are picking themselves, and they were fantastic against Nottingham Forest. But no disrespect to Sean Longstaff and Matty Longstaff, I just don't think that with Shelvey out now, that them two players sitting in that first two in front of the defence, they've got nothing to worry about in terms of their position in the team. They really don't. I think Shelvey was the one player who would have been on the back of their toes, breathing down the necks, trying to get in that central midfield area, and I think that position is theirs now. Again, that's no disrespect to Sean Longstaff. I just don't see him being anywhere near the quality of Bruno and Joe Linton, whereas Shelvey on his day can bring us something. And I think he was the one who was banging with regards to his fitness, the highest levels he's probably felt for years, because he wanted to back on the necks and then bite the neck of them players who he knows are a very good standard in Joey and Bruno. So I think they're going to know now that their positions are safe. If we got an injury from Joey or Bruno, who don't really have much of a bad injury record in their time with us or really across their careers. So fingers crossed that doesn't happen. Who does that leave in that middle area? You've got Sean Longstaff. Has looked better under Eddie Howe, but I'm still not too convinced. Elliot Anderson. Now, the other part of this that Craig Hope has announced, this means that Elliot Anderson will not be going out on loan this season. He will be sticking around because of this injury. I'm not sure how I feel about that. That's the other disappointing side of it to come from Shelvey's injury, because I know there's a lot of Newcastle fans will be watching this saying that they want Elliot Anderson around because he looks like a wonder kid and he's a Geordie and they want to see him more in the black and white stripes. I would still, with that in mind, that I want him to be our next big thing and to be the world beater we hope he is as the years go on. I think a season in the Championship would have been absolutely incredible for him, where he gets a lot of game time. At Newcastle, if he stays with us this year, he's going to get little cameos. I could be wrong. I just don't see Elliot Anderson, even the age and the maturity in that he is, going from League One to the Premier League week in, week out. He's just going to get those impact substitutes. Maybe when we're losing, when things are going well and he comes on just to see the game out. Is that good for his development? Well, I think it's good for his development to be around a Premier League team all season and to mix it with the best in training and things like that. But game time, I think, for these young players is important, and he proved that at Bristol Rovers where he smashed it. So that's a disappointing side for me, that now he's probably going to have to stick around. So that's another aspect to that. But I think we need now to strengthen in central midfield. I wanted a central attacking midfielder. I think James Maddison will be a fantastic bit of business. Whether that one's going to happen, I don't know. But now we really need to get a bit of cover, because Matty Longstaff, as far as I understand, is probably not in Eddie Howe's plans. I think you've got Sean Longstaff, you've got Willock, but don't forget Willock's going to play further up the field. I don't think he's ever going to drop into where Shelvey would play. I think Sean Longstaff is the main competition for them spots of Bruno and Joe Linton, or cover for an injury or a suspension. So, because let's face it, Joe Linton was a bit radgy in pre-season, so we don't know how far away he is from a red card. So, yeah, this is really, really disappointing news. But if you're ever going to get an injury, on the more positive side, every glass half full rather than half empty, if you're going to find out a player is out long term, it would rather be in the transfer window. But we know what's going to happen now. We already had Newcastle United Saudi tax. We are now probably going to have injuries in midfield tax. So any club who wants to sell a player to us is going to think they're desperate. They've lost Jonjo Shelvey. Let's add on 5 million. So that's another aspect for Dan Ashworth to have to deal with, for Darren Eel to have to deal with in this transfer window. Teams know that we're rich. Teams now know that we've got an injury in that position, so it just forces our hand a little bit. Do we pay over the odds for players, or do we stick to our guns? I'd like to hope they have a plan. If James Maddison doesn't come off, I'm not going to say we need players in this transfer window, but now we have an injury. We already wanted a winger. I'm still not convinced on Almiron as a right-hand-sided midfielder with the 1 foot that he has, as he showed against Nottingham Forest. I'd like to see a winger. We'd all like to see another striker, because Callum Wilson has been made of glass over the years, as much as I love the man and think he's fantastic. And now we need a central midfielder. Is it a central attack, a CAM, a central attacking midfielder? I don't know. Just a central midfielder with Shelvey out. But this is going to force Eddie Howe's hand anymore. So this next couple of weeks in the transfer window are going to be fascinating. But I am devastated that Shelvey's out that long, because he is a nice player to have, if he's not going to start, to breathe down the necks of our beautiful Brazilian duo. So if you are new to Black and White Banter, Newcastle fans, get down, drop in the comments, let me know what you think about Jonjo Shelvey's injury. Is it a bad thing? Was he going to play very much? Maybe you aren't too bothered. And who you'd like to see come in, because let's face it, there's going to be some transfer activity and some movement now, especially after this injury. And as I said, if you haven't already, give us one of these, because they go a long way in getting us on that search bar, and get us on Facebook and Instagram as well. So let's see what happens with this transfer window. Hopefully I'll touch down with another video before the Brighton game, because there's been some activity. But until then, enjoy your week, Toon fans, and things after that Jonjo Shelvey injury can only get better, can't they? However, lads.